Evening and welcome to another Magpie Friday night live on the eve of Notts trying to make it 6 straight wins on the bounce as we welcome Barrow to Meadow Lane for, I think I'm right in saying, it's the first 3 p.m. kickoff of 2026. How sad are we all is a question I'm asking now. How many of us, be honest, spent Thursday evening watching Accrington defeat Salford 1-0 on a horrible night in Lancashire. Everyone I've spoke to from the flock at various points I've met today, every single one, did you watch Accrington beat Salford last night? There we are. We're obviously getting excited about promotion already, aren't we? If we're all watching Accrington Stanley 1, Salford 0 on a Thursday night in, I hesitate to say it was a game of anti-football. Conditions and everything else clearly made it difficult. You wouldn't have said it was actually a classic, though, would you? Martin Patterson, are alarm bells ringing as a result of Martin's presser today when he gave in his own inimitable way, injury updates on Alassane Jatta, Jody Jones, Matty Palmer. Spoke in the show earlier this week. It's always difficult to try and understand exactly what Martin is trying to say as to whether an injury is serious or not. Today, point blank to Adam Hassel, interviewed on BBC Radio Nottingham, all a matter of weeks, he said. Does that concern you? Does that worry you? For me, if there was one disappointment is the wrong word, one area to watch, if you like, as a result of that 5th straight win on Tuesday, for me, Alassane Jatta, if not irreplaceable in that 9 role, I think very much is able to deliver that on a regular basis better than anyone else in the group that we have. He scores goals and he leads the line. That is not in any way, shape or form designed to intimate that Matty Dennis can't do it. But I do think one player that we potentially can struggle with that for any length of time is Alassane Jatta. Your thoughts and your views on that. Bumped into quite a few people today in the club shop getting me James Belshaw shirts. I think quite a few of you are planning to come down tomorrow. Over the road, the, if you like, Notts County opening of Over the Road. It's been open for a few Forest games. This will be the first one it's been open for a Notts fixture. So we've got the whole Magpie Circle crew down there tomorrow. So Mark Stellard, Chloe and myself will all be there. Doors open 12:30, been into the venue today. We're trying to make it as Notts County themed as possible. There you go. Magpie Circle beer mats to put on your coffee, your pint of Madry, your large whiskey, whatever it is you're having. We'll be having some competitions. Everyone that goes into the venue tomorrow, you get a raffle ticket absolutely free, and the winner, who will be drawn at 2:30, so make sure you're still in the building, will win one of these James Belshaw Notts County shirts, absolutely free. I think behind me you can also see, just about, if you peer, our Jim O'Brien limited edition t-shirt. You can get those in advance tomorrow. Several of you, I believe, are coming in to collect those that you have already reserved in advance. So from 12:30, the Man U game will be on. Also had a word with the lads and lasses down at the Navy. So I've gone for, as the second game to be shown, there's lots of different screens and they can split screen. I've gone for the Swindon game on the basis Ian Holloway is everybody's public enemy number one as a result of his recent rants. He's done another one today, not so much a rant, but giving his reaction to Swindon having been kicked out of the Virtue Trophy for fielding an ineligible player. I've watched his 4.5 minutes. It's quite funny. It's quite funny. He doesn't rant, he says. He's an emotional man with 50 years in football. Okay, all that and more on your Magpie Circle podcast tonight, brought to you, as always, in association with JH Accountants and the Trent Navigation, Big Shed, and of course Over the Road, which is the newest addition to them. Limited number of Jim O'Brien tickets still available, £12. You can get those. Dive in quick for next Thursday, February the 12th. We've put an order in for extra heaters, so try not to worry too much about the weather. I've put a 3-line whip on all the lads today, so they are ensuring it will be fully enclosed throughout the day, and we will have plenty of heaters, so try not to worry too much. I'm sure Jim O'Brien will be making it a red hot evening for the over 300 of us who will be along there on Thursday evening. Right, let's get some thoughts from the flock. First today, although the timing seems a bit, it says evening all, but at 12:46, Roy. Stephen Newton, I thought, was first on this afternoon all. Looking forward to another lively circle tonight, and hopefully 3 more points tomorrow. Who's next? Martin Blaney. Now, he's had a traumatic week despite not winning. Evening, Paul. I hope you are well. Travelling down on the train tomorrow for the match, as my car is still at the garage being repaired. Hoping for a 6th straight win to keep us in runners-up spot. Nigel Bosworth, let's get a good win again. Come on, you pies. Bud Chatwin. Now, normally after 5 straight wins, you're very happy. Bud is not entirely happy just yet. Bud Chatwin says, happy with 5 on the trot, but we need to be winning by more than 1 goal each match. Some bigger teams will punish over a lack of finishing. I think that goal difference may come into play towards the end. However, we'll take 17 wins, 1-0, if that's what it takes. Yeah, I hadn't fully appreciated that of our 5 wins on the bounce, all 5 have been by just the odd goal. 2-1 or 1-0. Hadn't realised every one of them was the 1 goal, which I guess you'd like to put to bed a bit earlier, but equally, shows we can protect a lead, which I think is important. And I think it's a characteristic that all successful promoted teams demonstrate multiple times over the course of a season. Lee Morgan. Evening, Paul. Looking forward to tomorrow's match and checking out the Over the Road venue for the first time. I'll be there with Florence, my 3-year-old, hoping to meet you and Stell. Of course, we shall make sure we see you and Florence. Lee, fair play to Florence, 3 years old, coming out in February. Non-stop rain for about, it feels like it, for about the past 36 hours. We look forward to seeing you both on Saturday lunchtime. Those doors open at 12:30 for when the Man U kicks off and the Swindon kick off. I'll be there probably about 1:15. Chloe's there from 12:30. Stell will be there from 1, and we'll be doing some interviews, meet and greets, having a chat with everyone, and just generally getting in the zone for that home game with Barrow, which feels almost to be an unaccustomed 3 o'clock kickoff. And while we're having that discussion on kickoff times and matches, just to clarify and tidy up things, Club put out yesterday a statement that the way all future live matches on Sky and the displacements, they're now going to operate on a 4-weekly cycle. So they don't choose a whole batch of a month's fixtures in advance. It's 4 weeks out. They then make that 4 weeks hence set of fixtures announcements, which is likely to include a Thursday night game and a couple of displaced earlier kickoffs on a Saturday from 3 o'clock to 12:30. Now, 4 weeks hence from this weekend, we've got the Walsall game. Not that game has not been chosen, so therefore you can plan accordingly. Trains, I don't think too many people will be going overnight to Walsall, will they? Even me. So you can plan your travel up to and including the Walsall game without any fear of the game being moved or kickoff time being brought forward. The next game then that's up for grabs is Saturday, March the 14th, which is the home game with Chesterfield. Now, Notts have made a point of kind of saying that's the next one to be decided. I just wonder, maybe wrong, maybe a million miles off this. I wonder if that Chesterfield game is going to be moved, either earlier kickoff or Thursday. You're guaranteed a good atmosphere. They did the first game, Boxing Day, didn't they? I wonder if that will be moved. So we will know next week whether the Chesterfield game is going to be moved. And then equally, as each week follows, then we'll find out about that following game. So if I was you, basically anything Chesterfield and further beyond, don't currently book your train tickets, overnights, those sorts of things, because up until 4 weeks, more than 4 weeks out, they could move. So just kind of get into that rolling 1 month ahead, not committing to games, because I think it likely, given the run that we are on, that the likes of ourselves, Bromley, are going to feature in quite a few games. And just really to reiterate, we're playing Bromley a week Saturday. There's no way Sky can retrospectively decide to film that and broadcast that game or anything. They'd already done all their fixtures, including that date. So that definitely stays as a 3 o'clock on Saturday. Hope that tidies everything up. So let's get some more messages. Ian Cooksey, not sorry to see Jarvis go. Pato explained perfectly why it's the best move for all concerned. Debbie Caton, hello Debbie. How you getting on with the book? 250,000 words. I think last time you were halfway through it. Not quite sure where you've got to now. Evening all, says Debbie. In my opinion, as long as we win, I don't care how many it's by. I'll take a 1-0 every day of the week. 3 points at the end of the day. Need to stay in the auto spots. Exactly, concurs Ian Cooksey. Debbie goes on, Cambridge with a game in hand currently, they do, which I'm thinking if one would put them a point above us. Even so, I'd take the third spot. Yes, early days, but I believe in Martin and our squad. I think that Cambridge game isn't until end of March, April time. Wouldn't be surprised if that gets moved based on current form. Ian Cooksey says, the game in hand that Cambridge have is at Crawley for them next week. No guarantees they will win there. Is that another night we're all going to spend watching Sky Sports EFL League 2? There's a new one on me. Install anyway. Oh, that's a new one. Going to be an interesting run into the end of the season. Certainly is. Debbie Caton again. Listened to Martin's response on our 3 injuries. Alessandra, Jody, and Matty. February without all 3? It was certainly kind of a thought that crossed my mind, Debbie, as I said at the start of the show. As I say, Martin sort of presents positives and negatives and kind of molds them all together in his answers. So you're trying to work out whether he's ultimately positive or negative. I don't think Martin indulges in mind games, as he's told us since day one. He's an honest kind of guy and he tries to be honest. So I don't think he's playing any games. I certainly potentially, like you, Debbie, read into that none of them are imminent. None of them are imminent. Um, which would be particularly interesting with regards, obviously, the Bromley game next weekend. But I think we were running on fumes a little bit in the second half in midweek, and understandably so, given the schedule and the travelling that we've had. I think tomorrow could be a bit trickier than we think it's going to be. Sounds that we're definitely going to be without Jatta, Jones, and Palmer, which in a way affects how many changes Martin is able to make in terms of moving around, because you've got their three very senior pros, and it sounds like all of those three certainly are not going to be available to start or even be on the bench tomorrow. Martin Blaney goes on a big shout out to Accrington Stanley for beating Salford and retaining our second position. Shane Walker from, I think, down in Solent on the south coast. Evening all. It's time we put Barrow to bed. 3-0, please. Certainly there's quite a different mood around the camp, isn't there? Those of us, me included, all went up to Barrow. If you remember, wasn't the greatest of days at Barrow, fairly early on in the season. Essie Kent, evening all. Happy Friday to everyone. Evening from Lippy Jane. I don't know if Lippy's already made the journey down from Yorkshire and is in South Nottingham. Stephen Newton, let's knock Barrow's wheel off, he says. You pies. 1862. Let's hope Dennis stays fit, as I'd be worried if we had to rely on Undlove. Tim Watchorn, evening. Barrow are struggling at the moment, but we must put these chances away. 2 good chances against Gillingham were spurned that would have made us safe. Absolutely, says Debbie Caton. Derek Flowers. What's the betting? AJ and Jody start tomorrow. I'm not sure. If they did, then certainly Adam Hassel will be well within his rights. In his first question to Martin, I dare him to say it. What's happened to being honest, Martin? I think you get one of them death stares, wouldn't you? Lippy Jane, gosh, re-injuries. That's too many major injuries. If only we had Jarvis with natural creativity to help out. What's our thoughts on Jarvis? What's our thoughts on the Jarvis move? I mean, I, like probably so many, Notts fans, you think there's something in there. You think, I'm sure there is something in there with Will. But it was very fleeting. And I think the argument or the discussion comes as to whether he was given enough of a chance to show that. Now, Martin, in his presser today, spoke about that and said that Will had been unfortunate with the timing of his injuries. I transcribed some of this earlier. This is what Martin said. Will is a really talented footballer, but he frustrates the life out of you. You are desperate to get him out there, but I never seemed to get him into any game rhythm. Worked him back to fitness, suffered an ankle injury, was ill. We wish him all the best, but unfortunately I could not get him going. And I think there were 1 or 2 sentiments like that from the Hull manager as well. So it's a bit of an enigma. I thought the club were a tad disingenuous, or trying to justify why they signed him when they put out he'd played 27 games. I mean, well, he hadn't, had he? I had a look. He'd started 7 in the second half of last season and 2 this year. The rest he was on the bench. So he started 9 games since he came here. That would say to me, this is not just Martin Patterson, but to an extent, Stuart Maynard didn't necessarily play him a great amount of time. I think if you've had two managers with a new signing and the way we when he arrived and he was, you know, described as an Irish Messi or something, which I don't think did him any favours. You kind of think, is he the one that got away? Could we have done more? But for me, if you judge one person at the football club on their ability to judge a player, then ultimately it wouldn't be the scouting department, Richard or whoever. The one person who I would judge to be the best judge of a player, that would be Martin Patterson. I think he's earned our respect after a difficult start when, let's be honest, no one really knew who he was as a head coach. I think he's earned our respect. And I think if he feels that he isn't going to get game time and he's not for him, I would absolutely say, what Martin says on the player goes. So with that in mind, then I think the right decision has been made. Cue another 4 more injuries and we're crying out for players. But it's a difficult one. I remember Pat Nevin on the commentary against Brackley. He likened him to Cole Palmer, and that's Pat Nevin, who clearly, is a player, or was a player. So it is interesting. The other thing I think I would put into the equation is that not one other English professional football club, on the face of it, has put a bid in or wanted to take a gamble on Will in English football, because I'm not necessarily sure Shelbourne would have been his first port of call if there were other options in England. I get it if it was only National League, but I think it is an interesting point that not one other club in England were prepared to take Will, or at least on the face of it, and he's gone back to Shelbourne, where clearly he had a good spell before. Anyway, your thoughts and views on Will Jarvis. David Skinner. Barrow. What on earth are we doing playing Barrow? I thought I'd seen the back of the likes of Barrow when we won the 4th division in 1971. Don't know if you caught up on Wednesday's show, David. We did to death the whole principle of re-election and how Barrow dropped out of the league in the season that they finished 3rd bottom. How was your luck? 3rd bottom. Didn't get the votes, dropped out of the league. Fair play to them for coming back. I've got to say, a lot of respect for what they've done. It is, when we talk about footballing outposts of England, Barrow is an outpost. I speak as someone that's been there, throughout the National League and throughout the Football League. Well done to Barrow for getting up, because it must be difficult getting players, must be difficult. So I have a lot of respect for what they've done in getting back into the Football League and, staying there so far without a great deal of trouble. I'm not saying they're in the top half or anything like that, but they've not been bottom or second bottom and had to win the last 4 games to stay up. So, well done for what they've done. Ian Cooks, he says, personally, I think Pato ran out of patience with Jarvis. Adam Lloydell, won't make it this weekend as I'm in Tenerife. Fair enough, but we'll be watching in a pub somewhere. Tim Watchorn, evening. I'm hitting the Lemsips right now, determined to get there tomorrow. Be a warrior, Tim. Be a warrior. Robert Minister from Juneau in Australia. Good morning / evening all. I hadn't listened to the pre-game interview with the gaffer concerning about all of them being out for weeks. We do have a good squad and we're going to need it. Royston, evening. A good win tomorrow will set us up nicely for the Bromley game. And I think what is important is that no midweek game. No midweek game against Bromley. And I'm sure, Martin will be so desperate to get through tomorrow without any more injuries, get 3 points in the bin, maybe give the players a couple of days off next week, but just let them recharge their batteries before a game that kind of takes care of itself in the sense it would be the top two. Bale and Ball, evening all, a lot of rain, so pitch will suit Notts, so I feel a big win. Snuck a look at the pitch when I was down at the ground today. No issues, no issues. It does drain well. So I know Sunday morning football and Saturday afternoon. I don't think you're getting any of your parks football in this weekend. Just about everything I've seen has been called off by the various councils as of 9 o'clock this morning, and we've had a bucket load more since. Ian Cooksey, we think we've had it rough with 3 p.m. kickoffs. I was reading today Aston Villa have not had a 3 p.m. home Saturday kickoff for over a year. That is kind of one of the prices you pay in the Premier League, displacement of fixtures. And I think the reason, to be fair, in Aston Villa's case, not dissimilar with Forest over the road, they're in the Europa League, aren't they? Thursday. So every game you play in the Europa League group stage, all on a Thursday, you absolutely can't play on a Saturday, irrespective. So you can't just blame Sky, because that game has to move to a Sunday. So that, I'm sure, is the principal reason why Villa haven't had any. I don't think Forest have had more than maybe 2 tops. It's kind of the price you pay for being in the Europa League, which of course, and Conference League, Crystal Palace for that matter, they are Thursday night Europe nights. Magic Boots Ghana celebrating Mrs. Magic Boots' retirement this weekend. I'm very proud of her for 41 years service as a nurse in the NHS. Hoping for 3 points and a couple of beers after, and maybe a glass of fizz too. Magic Boots are Ghana, Mister. I cannot, but you must surely have bought Mrs. Magic Boots a bottle of nice champagne. You must do. 41 years in the NHS. That's fantastic service. Congratulations. And on behalf of all the flock, have a very happy retirement, which now, of course, means you can focus even more on Notts County matches. Ian Cooksey, the Chesterfield game clashes with Forest being at home. Not seen that, being at home. So we will have to move anyway. Is there any Europa League on the Thursday, Cooksey, or not? I must admit, I'd not realised if that's the case. I have no reason to suspect it's not. Hadn't realised that. Just check whether Forrester got Europa League playoff the Thursday before that game. Because it depends on rounds and they go through, you see. And it's quite a lot of Thursdays. It's quite a lot of Thursdays. We might actually want Forest to win if you want a Saturday kickoff. So, Cooksey, knowing Cooksey, he won't want Forest to win. Gibbo, more we stay near top, the more games that will get moved, I believe. Lippy Jane, I have booked train already for Chesterfield, £4.95. You can get some fantastic train fares, as well. I mean, I'm going to Shrewsbury for something like £3.50 each way. And before you ask, you can't get back, but I'm stopping over. But yeah, there's some ridiculous, particularly with my senior citizens rail card. Obviously, every train inspector doesn't believe that I am over 60. Clearly, you believe that, you believe anything. But yeah, you can get some very cheap tickets. Andy Easom, nice little bonus result for us at Aki last night. Bet you were watching it on the telly as well, Andy. Adam Kent, good result for us last night. Bet you were watching it as well. Both Andy and Adam are coming down tomorrow, I believe, to Over the Road, and I'm also giving them their Jim O'Brien limited edition t-shirts. Dale Pikett, the 3 teams promoted last season. He produces some good stats as Dale. The 3 teams promoted last season with 1-0 wins. The top 3. Doncaster had 14, Bradford 13, and Port Vale 12. So you can get promoted with 1-0 wins. I'm with you all the way. But Chatwin, we have Walsall, Bromley, Cambridge, and Salford away. So we need to make sure we win all our home games, as these 4 will not be easy. Lippy Jane says, I've stayed down in Nottingham from Tuesday's game. Royston says, Jarvis on the bench tonight. Are you referring to Shelbourne, Royston? Essie Kent, we have Norburn and Robbo back. I'm not too concerned about the injuries, says Essie. Certainly think, I was speaking with Paul Hawksworth early today, and he's always been a huge advocate of Ollie Norburn. And I think, we said before, as this season has progressed, Norburn right now is one of the key names on that team sheet, without doubt. Ian Cooksey, as Pato said about Jarvis, he couldn't get him to dance. Adam Kent, is it true that we are virtually in the same position in the league as we were last year? I can't remember the running being so poor under Maynard. I don't think there's a lot of difference. If you remember, we fell apart end of the season, Adam. We fell apart. Do you remember we had lost all those games? Did we lose the last 4 games at home? I think. We were on something like a club record run, or potentially of like 6 home defeats on the bounce, weren't we? I think. Debbie Caton, I think there's an element of mischievousness, Debbie, in this comment. I'm not really sure, but I do think Will and Martin didn't quite see eye to eye. Yeah, you're not wrong. Ian Cooksey, yeah, he picks up on the point I have. It was the home form. We won 1 out of the last 9 at home. That was the main reason for the slump. Yeah, I remember that like you, Ian. We basically couldn't buy a point at home. And that ultimately cost us. Dave Hartshaw, evening, Paul and the flock. Can't wait for tomorrow. It's not going to be easy. Just need to put the chances in the bag. Would love to hear 3 get-ins. Steve Geldod, he's another one's got his shirt. And if you are about tomorrow, pop into Over the Road, Steve, and we can give you your shirt and come and say hello to the gang. Just shows how important a January window was. All those 3 that Martin has spoken about will be a big miss against Barrow, who will be very stubborn. Jarvis was good business with him not playing regularly. Black Sox Pie, if Jarvis can get it together and show consistency, then maybe he could play at a higher level. I hope we have a sell-on clause just in case. I believe there is, I've read somewhere 25% sell-on clause, which is there, and understandably so, not covering their back. Not covering their back on that one, I think. Debbie Caton, did I read this time last year we were in second with the same number of points? Can't honestly remember, Debbie. I think we were certainly second or third on January the 1st, because we was only about a point behind Doncaster. Ian Cooksey, and I think this is a very salient point. Both Maynard and Pato can't be wrong about the same player. Unfortunately, players like Jarvis eventually get managers the sack. Dave Hartshaw, looking forward to seeing Maz, I'll get it right, Maz Kuyar scoring his first goal tomorrow. David Skinner, Holker Street, exclamation mark. Yes, been there a few times, Lippy Jane, Jarvis and Whittaker, I liked them both. Presumably talking about Charlie Whittaker, who's got a few goals for Tranmere this season. David Skinner, Barrow, the only club with a submarine on their badge. Is it an astute class sub? Now, where is my anorak? Do you know what? I know about Barrow, GEC, the nuclear subs and all of that. I didn't realise Barrow had a submarine on their badge. Didn't know that. I'll have to have a look at that, Skinner. I'm sure. Well, I know you'll be right. Carl Brandon offers a different view on the departure of Will Jarvis. I'm gutted about Jarvis going. I never saw a poor performance from him. His style looks effortless, which is probably why Pato didn't want him there anymore. Andrew Rayson. I think Jarvis is in the same boat as Will Patching. Enough talent to become an elite player, but never possessing the required motivation, work ethic, or correct attitude to get anywhere in the game. Yeah, Will Patching was another one of those, wasn't he? Manchester City, age group, international teams, came to Notts with that kind of youth pedigree. We've signed a lot of them since. But succeeding in the men's game is very difficult, very different to being a shining light in age group football. And I think Will, after leaving us, I think he was down somewhere like National League North with Chester, was he? I think I'm not 100% sure. Adam Peel, not now Forest has moved to Sunday. Not sure which particular game he's talking about there. Ian Cooksey, the playoffs are 19th and 26th of Feb. And yes, I hope they do get knocked out, followed by relegation. Oh, dear. Dale Pikett picks up on 18th of April. Notts are at home to Barnet, and them over the river are at home on the same day. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Doesn't surprise me. You know, historically, there was the agreement Notts and Forest would alternate when they were both playing at home. So one would move, following time would move. That deal basically got ripped up, or gentlemen's agreement no longer applies. It's funny how Notts have never actually confirmed that, but it doesn't. I guess the reason that, there's not a lot of chat at the minute is that obviously there's all these Europa League dates, so it kind of depends whether Forest would be in a Europa League on a Thursday before any fixture clash, in which case they'd have to move to a Sunday anyway. So I think kind of no one says anything until they absolutely have to. Ian Cooksey talks about they are still due to play Fulham on the 14th of March at home. That's Forest. Greza Maxwell. Has anyone seen the statement from Harrogate's owner yesterday regarding he's put Curry situation? I think he means finances. Yeah, it's interesting. There's several clubs come out. And if you like trying to make public the challenges that the smaller clubs in the lower divisions make, we know that both trust clubs, Wimbledon and Exeter, have come out, made statements about we can't carry on the way we are. We need external investment, or we're going to have to cut wage bills significantly. That was kind of a bit of a gist from the Harrogate owner, Irving Weaver, who is he's the owner of the club, but his son Simon is the manager. So it's quite an unusual dynamic there. Yeah, and it does appear that wages have gone through the roof, in inverted commas, over the past 1-2 seasons, and clubs, far from becoming more sustainable, are now losing more money. And I think there's kind of people wanting that situation to be addressed. You've heard my views on it before, Greza. You won't get a salary cap in, and you cannot trust clubs to look after each other. They only look after themselves, put bluntly. So I don't see much of an end to this situation. And your likes of Harrogate and those sorts are going to have to make a decision as to whether to lose more money or ultimately cut a wage bill to the bone that is ultimately likely to lead them to be relegated. So, yeah, it's interesting. The other big hot topic at the minute, you may have seen this week, prompted a bit by the football regulator, but the debate about 3-up from the National League and 3 down, starting to reach a bit of a crescendo. There's talk with the regulator coming in. He wants an easy win, yeah, and clearly the regulator will take all the credit if it becomes 3 up, 3 down. Various Labour MPs of clubs in the National League have been quite vociferous recently. I would not be surprised if that comes in fairly quickly, and this is the bit that affects Notts. Hopefully, the 3 down will never affect us. I think the Football League, at that point, whenever they agree to that, I think they will then iron out the discrepancy of 4 up from League 2 and 4 up from League 1, and just make it 3 up and 3 down, so that all 5 divisions, then including the top division of the National League, are 3 up, 3 down, which makes a huge amount of sense. We've spoken about this before. If you're wondering why it's 4 up and 4 down, this is an historic legacy from when there used to be 2 regionalised divisions 4, or 2 divisions 3. There used to be a north and a south. So therefore, you had 2 going up from the north, 2 going up from the south. Hence why it's 4. So it's another reason for us to get up this year. It's another reason for us to get up this year. And then from a percentage, if you're going to look at it very cynically, and then from a percentage basis, there's only 3 coming down from League 1, not 4. So I think big year in a lot of respects for us. We need to be up in them autos this year. Massive. Adam Kent saying he's coming down to Over the Road. Robert Minister from Australia again. What's everyone's thoughts about the lineup tomorrow? With the news of AJ Jones and the skip, what changes do we expect for the starting lineup? I'm thinking Grant will come back in for Hall. Wouldn't be surprised with that. I don't think he's got a massive number of options. Grant would be an obvious one to bring in. Would he change the back line and start Ness instead of Macari? Don't know whether they've got a lot of big players, but Macari's done well recently. I actually don't see too many changes. Don't think he would start Harold, the Norwegian, yet. He was going to come on, wasn't he, with about a minute to go. They couldn't get him on, so he's still not been on. Cooksey having some Curry references with Greza. Gibbo, we need to get 18 more points from 17 games to finish on last season's total. It's an interesting one, Gibbo. That kind of puts into perspective how badly we played in the second half of last season with that glittering transfer window last January. It's such a good post. He's almost sent it twice. But he's then added on. I think we get at least 25 points from the next 17 games. I think we need more than that, Gibbo. We need more than that. Bud Chatwin. I'd rather have Jatta, Jones and Matty out now than during the run-in. Dennis, Kuyar and Grant will do the job. Debbie Caton, Submarine, and please no more Captain Pugwash, says Debbie Caton. It's one of them ditties you can't get out your head. You can't get out your head. Ian Cooksey, I wouldn't mind a load of Captain Pugwash tomorrow. They are at home to Bromley. Let's hope Captain Pugwash is belting out across Fleetwood non-stop between 3 o'clock. I don't know what time kickoff it is, but if it's 3 o'clock, between 3 and 5 tomorrow. Murray Biddle. Will Patching is at Carlisle. Indeed, he is. That's very true, Murray. Steve Geldard. I'd go Grant for Hall. Don't think Tyrese has played as well lately. Jonathan Hammocks. Hello, Paul. Really sorry. I'm not going to be able to make the Jim O'Brien night. Logistics are not good, and my limited care package provide problems. Really sorry. Hopefully, there will be other times. Indeed, look, we'd love to get you along, and hopefully, it won't be too long before you can get to another Notts game as well, Jonathan. We wish you, well in being able to get you along to Meadow Lane again at some point in the near future. What else have we got? Yeah, I thought Martin was classically understated again. When asked by Adam, trying to elicit some, kind of emotional, upbeat response about how everything was at the training ground. Came Mr. Grumpy's reply: "It's okay at the training ground. Being quite consistent, that's the key word." But honestly, I love it. I love it. Don't believe in your own publicity. Get on with the job. We all know that football has a habit of kicking you, when you least expect it. I know a lot of people think, we're just going to roll Barrow over tomorrow. Look, I don't know how the game result is going to end up. I will be staggered if Barrow do anything other than have a 10, defend with 10 men on their 18-yard line, or low block, as it's now called. And if we can get an early goal, fantastic. If we don't, it might not be easy. And we as fans will have to stick with the players. And I know we won't get on their backs, but, you don't want any frustration to commute itself from the stands to the players. Look, it looks like it ain't going to be the greatest of weather. I mean, it's about 39 hours non-stop rain and counting now, isn't it? So conditions are probably not going to be fantastic tomorrow. So it could be a patience might be the order of the day tomorrow. This is a run of five games in 2 weeks for Notts. I'm sure Martin will be so desperate to be able to enjoy that break next week. No midweek game, prepare for Bromley with a win tomorrow. But it could be tricky, Look what Accrington did to us. Look what Accrington did to Salford last night. We always have a habit of judging teams. We watch them for one game and go, they're rubbish. We've dismissed Milton Keynes as useless, haven't we? We've dismissed Cambridge as terrible, rubbish team. They ain't lost since they came to Meadow Lane, Cambridge, and we were dissing them and that Neil Harris useless. This, God blimey, terrible. They ain't lost. They haven't lost a game since we played them. So it's difficult sometimes to judge on one game. I'll take a 1-0. I'll take a 1-0 now, 94th minute. Be delighted. Just be happy with 3 points, echoes Martin Blaine. Debbie Caton, come on, you pies, we've got this. Robert Minister, we would all love a 3+ goals win, but the 3 that I love more are the 3 points. Early goal, says Ian Cooksey, would settle everybody down. Indeed, it would. Let's hope we can get one. No League Two football for us to watch this evening. I can't think who's on the telly playing tonight. Right. I won't say any more. See you, for those of you coming along to Over the Road tomorrow. Doors open 12:30. Chloe, Stella and I will all be there. So come and say hello. Stella will have to go about 10 to 2. Because obviously he's got to get on Radio Nottingham, but we'll be doing some, live interviews, previewing the game, reading out the teams and that sort of thing. And, depending how many of us are there, it may become a more regular thing. We're all trying to do our bit for Notts County, raise the profile of the club, get a good community going. So you may well find out 1 or 2 people's aliases and all the rest of it if you go in tomorrow. I did meet a 76-year-old Notts fan. Didn't get his name in the club shop today, getting the old Belshore shirts. And Sprightly, an ex-coach driver, still goes on Echo's coaches to away games, hardly misses a game. Here's one for you. So he got to Blackpool. He walked from Blackpool Tower to Fleetwood's ground, all along the front. 7.5 miles. Took him about 4 hours. Stopped for a English cooked breakfast, a few pints of thwaites, and a fish and chips before he got to the ground about 2 o'clock. But there you go, eh? 7.5 miles, 76 years old. That's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what it's all about. Both rubbish teams on TV tonight, says Lippy Jane. Crikey, they must be rubbish if if we were bemoaning Accrington last night. Reza Maxwell, we have the Wall in goal. He's untouchable. So far he has been. Let's not give him the kiss of death, Greza. Robert Minister, right, my pronunciation. Paul, where I live in Australia is pronounced Junie. Junie, not Juno or whatever I did. Junie. Okay. I will note to oneself, Robert, I will get it correct. Gibbo, I can't wait for next Thursday. Jim is a legend. Played in a charity match with him in July. Such a quality player and person. Raised over £1,600 for the Mind charity. Yeah, I said on Wednesday I've been exchanging a few messages with him. He was working out what to wear, Notts kit or full suit. I says, as long as people get to see your tattoo, I says, you can wear what you want. Debbie Caton, I'm still only halfway through the book. Don't worry. Steve Geldard, Barrow will have 10-11 players, low block, hit Notts on the break and frustrate and kick anything that moves. Lots of dark arts. A 1-0 will do for me. Murray Biddle says it's Charlton versus Queen's Park Rangers on Sky tonight. Or, says Andy Easom, Airdrie versus St Mirren. I think there's one other game on. Can't think what it is. Debbie Caton says, we'll have to wait now for summer reading. There you go. Get out in the garden, Debbie. Get the floral hat on, Pims, and you can read all about Notts County. Go back to yesteryears. Essie Kent, should we wear name badges tomorrow? It's like a speed dating. You nailed it, Robert. So yes, I now know how to pronounce a small place in the Australian outback that is home to a Notts County fan. Ian Cooksey doesn't want to let it go. See, Keller let in 5 on Wednesday. None of them were his fault. And did I see somewhere Kilmarnock had another player sent off after about 10 minutes? I mean, crikey, their disciplinary record, they only ever seem to play a game with 10 men. But anyway, let us move on. Notts County versus Barrow, 3 o'clock tomorrow. See you in the Over the Road from 12:30 for 1 onwards. Win one of these James Belshore shirts, what I got earlier. Look forward to seeing everyone that's over the road. Look forward to seeing others at the ground. 3 o'clock. Let's see if we can make it 6 out of 6. Cheers for now, everyone. Bye-bye.